To all of our American friends, happy Thanksgiving. To all of our Canadian friends, please stay safe out there. It's Black Friday. I'm Andrew Fantasia. This is Ryan J. Marvel, and he's going to kick your butt at Marvel Snap. So if you face him, be warned. What's your Marvel Snap name so that people know when they're fighting you?
Crusader.
Crusader. All right. And mine is Infinity Rewatch. So if you can't remember that,
so
folks.
Genius. So genius.
How are you, Crusader?
Man. Sorry?
How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, it's Black Friday weekend for us Canadians out there. And yes, happy Thanksgiving to our Americans who also have just crazy good deals going on right now as well. Just Black Friday is always a crazy time. I have nothing but sympathy for and just pure pride for anyone who's working retail right now, because it's just insane. But to be fair, it's a bit more manageable than it used to be, because when I used to do it, it was like wall to wall packed with people, and it was just crazy. But yeah, it's that time now. Of course, it's also the time of year of good holiday content, which is what brings us here today. Because today, what are we talking about, sir?
The Flintstones meet the Jetsons and Ho 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 Bedrock Express. That's not a real thing.
Although they did meet, and it is a good movie that when they meet.
It is. It's very endearing. They all become friends, and I love it a lot. But they're not in this episode, as far as I can tell. The Easter eggs are Fast and Furious. So I don't know. Maybe Barney Rubble's in the background somewhere. But no, we saw the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which dropped today on Disney+. A quick bit of business before we dive into the special, technical business. I noticed on the last two-ish, maybe more, but definitely in the last two episodes of the show, I got to apologize. My audio was sounding pretty bad, and I think I figured out the reason. I think I stupidly had the camera that you got me, Ryan. I think I stupidly had it covering my own microphone.
No.
I was getting a lot of like weird stuff, and I'm listening. I'm like, I don't normally sound that bad on this show. I mean, I know my audio quality is never, next level, but I don't sound that bad. And I think it was because of this. So I have moved my camera away, hopefully, from the mic. And here's hoping that this sounds much better on everybody's ears, because in the holiday season, you want some coziness pouring into your ears, some warmth. You don't want static.
Honestly, you sounded fine to me. Which is weird.
It's so strange, man. But I hope the problem has been solved, because we got bigger problems, namely Star-Lord is sad. Good Christmas.
Honestly, these special presentations are interesting. I mean, Werewolf by Night set a bar that's like really hard to beat. And this holiday special is kind of an interesting gem, because first of all, there is some emotion behind this, in the sense of like, this is the second last James Gunn project before he moves on to the wonderful world of DC, which we might have to do a DC Infinity Rewatch after James Gunn takes over, which will be interesting. We'll have to bring on some guests for that one, because my knowledge is not nearly as good as others. The
whole show should just be you faking the knowledge. Let me see how far we can get. You can be like, yes, Andrew, when Clark Kent became Batman, he...
let's just throw salt at the audience as we're doing it. Just, here you go. It'll be curious to see when James Gunn takes over. But it's a bit of a bittersweet emotional moment, because it's James Gunn's second last project of Guardians, and he even said, and I quote, like, I am fully committed to Guardians until like Volume 3 is out.
Yeah,
Volume 3's out. I'm done. That's it. I'm moving on. And so, and the other thing too is this is like a Marvel holiday special. Like this is a Christmas experience, which is also, these are always these kind of movies have a lasting impression. So it's an adventure for sure.
It is, and I think it's funny. I don't know if this was by design that it happened to come out today, because I got one of those Facebook things today, Ryan, that says, "Hey Andrew, here's your post from a year ago." And it was our episode on Hawkeye, episodes 1 and 2, because I think they dropped on the same day.
Yeah.
So Hawkeye started on the same day, and that was also a very Christmassy show. So warm and cozy, that Hawkeye show. So they go hand in hand. We are now on our second Marvel Christmas thing, maybe third if you count Iron Man 3, because there was a lot of Christmas Iron Man 3. But
Yeah.
and I think that for what it is, because again, these specials are still uncharted waters. But for what it is, James Gunn did a great job of making it a Christmas special or a holiday special,
Right.
and B, serving as kind of two things, kind of like an epilogue to Endgame / a prologue to Volume 3.
Yeah. Okay, so it's funny you bring that up because the promo for this is kind of bizarre. Leading up to this, when it was announced that it was being made, I'd say about somewhere between the announcement and 6 months later, and maybe into production a little bit, James Gunn confirmed this has nothing to do with the MCU. And I kind of see where that's true, but I also see where this is very false because the first thing I saw when this show came out today, which fun fact, I totally forgot that this show came out today. But the interesting thing here is that it the first post I saw about the holiday special today said that this takes place after Werewolf by Night. So this is like very current events. So I'm like, but I thought it had nothing to do with the MCU. Like it's just kind of like a pocket of storytelling, much like What If kind of thing, which is very bizarre. But that's not the case. This is very much part of the MCU. You know, I feel, but it's like again, you know, you look at all these major events that happen that drive the whole universe's story forward. This is kind of like a Monday of that big event. Like, you know, you do some big thing on the weekend. This is like the Monday, and like, and then you get into it that way. So so that was the first thing that was interesting to me. And the second thing is they do introduce a character who is going to play a bigger role they reintroduce a character that's going to play a big role in Volume 3, which is Cosmo.
Yes, and Cosmo, she is good girl. She does tricks for treats. Everybody, they love Cosmo. I forgot that we had seen Cosmo earlier as well. And when this came on and she showed up, I was like, this is an anticlimactic way to introduce this character. She's just there putting up decorations. And I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't her introduction. We've seen Cosmo before.
Twice.
So, yeah. Oh, what was the second time? Was she in Volume 2?
In Volume 2, yeah.
Oh, I don't even remember her in Volume 2. That's
I think
amazing.
It's brief. I think it's very brief in Volume 2. Like, it's very small.
Okay, so Cosmo's been around. She's a dog who's seen some things. But you're right. I'm curious what James Gunn was on about. Maybe he was just trolling us when he said that. I didn't hear that interview where he said it wasn't going to be part of the story, because this sets up a lot of lore. I mean, apart from you got small things like Cosmo, you got small things like Kraglin is still learning to use the arrow, and they have another ship, a very cool looking ship called the Bowie, and that's just there now. But a big thing is the Guardians of the Galaxy own Nowhere now. They bought it from the Collector, who I guess that means, Ryan, he's still alive. Thanos didn't kill him.
No. Did they specifically say that they bought it from the Collector?
Yeah.
Then yes, I guess he's still alive. Which actually, no, that makes sense because maybe the conversation that he had in Infinity War with Thanos was the actual conversation, and he throws him into a jail like he did. Right. But he's probably somewhere else in the Collector's thing.
Yeah. So the jail, like you're saying, the jail thing was real. We just saw an illusion created of it, but he actually was in prison. He wasn't killed.
Yeah.
Right.
He's kind of like replaying them getting there as if they caught him doing it in real time kind of thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that makes total sense. And that means, Ryan, if he's alive, can we please see him get together with his brother Jeff Goldblum and the two of them Just have a scene too. That can be the next one, the Thanksgiving special where it's just them having Thanksgiving dinner. Thank you for inviting me to a Thanksgiving. Oh, of course. Try the veal chop. Right? Like, come on, 40 minutes of that. Please.
I would like to see that. I mean, that would be really. I would just love to see Benicio del Toro and Jeff Goldblum share a screen. Like, it is just bizarre. Like, that would just be bizarre. But it would be so fascinating to watch. So yeah, you're right. But yeah, and it was funny too because Isabella and I had that moment of like, oh my god, this is nowhere. Like, this is nowhere the place. Now, a couple funny things I gotta point out here. First of all, the music left much to be desired for. The music throughout this entire movie, except for like maybe one song, maybe one or two songs, but they weren't like performance songs. They were just like background music songs. Were like good. Like there's a Smashing Pumpkins, I think, Christmas song in there that was really good, and there was another fun Christmas song in there at the club that they went to. But yeah, the music performances in this were so Disney and so weird. I did not like Isabella and I did probably like we just didn't enjoy them as much as other people may have. But like even the band, was that like an actual famous band? Like, do we even know that? I don't know.
That is a band. Their name was in the credits. They're called like the 87s or something like that.
Okay, so it's
And James Gunn is just a big fan of them, so he put them in. And I mean, that's sort of at this point we got to expect from James Gunn. He has very deep cut music tastes. So of course, somebody will come up and we'll be like, "Who the hell is that?" And he'll be like, "That's the greatest alternative funk Swedish band since like because he just knows this stuff." I did not hate the music here.
The first song has funny moments.
The first song does have funny moments. Yeah. I feel like both of the musical performances, both the first one and then the Kevin Bacon one, they overstayed their welcome a bit. Because I'm like, okay, I know we've only got like 40 minutes. The song's still going, huh? Okay. Well, so I didn't hate it. I was just like, oh, it's a lot of time we could have spent on other characters, but okay. So,
yeah, the last song was, oh god, I don't know. Yeah, the last song definitely overstayed its welcome, and then trying to integrate like a montage sequence in it was like, But the if you take away that for a minute, the story is pretty fun. Mantis really takes the lead in this one, and she is funny. Like, she is funny. Isabel and I actually had like a gut wrenching, like bust our gut laughing moment when at the very beginning, like Drax is like, "Oh, we could have given him the Zug nuts, but you ate them all." And she's like, "Enough of the Zug nuts!" Like, that was actually really funny to us, and we had a good laugh there. But yeah, the comedic writing in this one was really, really top notch, and Mantis was really in the front of it. Like, she was in the front of this movie and I was like wondering to myself, like, where was this in the other movies? Like, where was this Mantis? Like, in volume 2, I know she's kind of getting her bearings, but in like Infinity War and Endgame, yes, I understand it's such a ensemble cast, but in Infinity War, like, I don't know, she could have had a little more humor there. Like, because like this one, she's hilarious, and she's fun to watch through the entire thing.
Look, I'm sure there's a 3.5-hour cut of Infinity War where she gets a lot more lines, and I think has it been like 100% confirmed that in Love and Thunder a lot of their stuff was cut too, right? Just for time. Yeah. So you're right. This is the first time we got to see Mantis unleashed. And it's brilliant.
It's so good. She had so many moments.
Yeah, it's too bad that we had to wait this long, but at least I think we can rest easy knowing that Volume 3 is going to still keep shining light on her. Like, she's still going to be a big presence. Because you're right. In Volume 2, she had to get to know everyone. They didn't necessarily trust her or like her. Gamora was ready to beat her up. right? So she had to kind of work her way into their trust and befriend Drax and all that. And thankfully now the two of them have this dynamic where we can focus this whole special on Drax and Mantis. And not only does it work as like this buddy road trip kind of thing, but they're perfect for each other for something like this. And if all I can say is if we don't get an action figure of Mantis with the candy cane, we have failed as a species. If Hasbro does not make that as a Marvel Legends toy, then Hasbro, you got to just turn in your toy maker card right now and give it to people who care.
Well, it's funny with Drax in this, because Drax's performance literally since the first Guardians movie was like it just hit. It like just went super hard, super fast, and it's just maintained. I don't mean this in a bad way too, but his comedic performance is maintained all the way through, and he's been nothing but consistently funny every scene he's in. And like this one, there are some solid funny moments with him too. I think the one that got me the most was when he was being shot at with the bullets and he's laughing so hard that it's going to make him pee. Like that I just literally bust my gut.
I love when he was beating the shit out of the GoBot.
Oh yeah, beating the guy. And what did Mantis say, that a GoBot killed his family or something?
Yeah, I think a GoBot killed his parents, but I just love that, you know, it comes at the end of this montage. So clearly he has been told not to do that, but the second Mantis is busy taking selfies and takes her eye off him,
it's just like
he's beating up this poor soul.
So it's a really fun concept, and it's kind of cool to see again, kind of get a little more of an intimate view of Nowhere. And the band thing was just weird. And yeah, Star-Lord moping around, like really the one scene where they talk about he's upset because Gamora's gone, that was like a split second. They didn't even give you time for him to really ruminate on like where is Gamora? Like what happened to her?
Well, I'll do you one better. Who is Gamora?
I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora? But like that's the thing. Like this goes back to the my kind of issue with the trailers right now is like they kind of build up that like, oh yeah, we're gonna get some little bit of information of like where's Gamora, but that's not in this. Like that one question is literally all we get. Like we just know she's not around. The other cool thing I will say about this movie that starts us off here a little bit is you get a little bit of backstory with Star-Lord here, but I love that they did in a cartoon style. Kind of reminds me of like Star Wars Holiday Special, kind of like a nice little cameo or one of the Easter egg nods, I should say. But it's not that it's completely separate from the holiday special extravaganza that is Star Wars. But it's kind of a nice ode to Christmas movies that kind of start off as a cartoon and then go into something real, which is really nice.
Yeah, it looked like the old Ralph Bakshi animation too. It had just that weird stilted quality to it. Like there's a look that young Peter gives at the end when he's sitting in the cockpit with Yondu, and he just he looks at Yondu and then he looks out the window and he's just like, and it's the way they move, and I love that. It's so adorable. And having that be the start of it, beautiful way to really put you in the holiday mood, right? Because it's if you open cold right on Nowhere, they can put up all the decorations they want, but it's not going to hit the same way as if you started a cartoon. You know what? The Gamora thing didn't even occur to me. I know that that's a plot point that's happening, and when I saw Quill looking forlorn, I figured, okay, yeah, he misses her. That makes sense. But honestly, man, as soon as Mantis dropped her bomb, I was not thinking about Gamora for the rest of the special, because I was like, that is so cool and so wonderful that this revelation comes about, to the point where, like, not to jump ahead too fast, but when we get to the end and she tells Peter, I was getting choked up, man. I was really having a moment there. Like, that was beautiful stuff, and it makes sense. Of course Ego would do that. He was Of course. He'd be sowing his oats all over the place.
You and your way of words, man. But yeah, no, that was an interesting twist as well. Giving the relationship that they're brother and sister. I mean, it kind of begs to question, it kind of begs to question how they're going to throw the high evolutionary into this, because the high evolutionary in the comics, he's like essentially the equivalent of an eternal. That's what he is. Not exactly an eternal, but he's the equivalent of one. But his relationship in the comics is to Mount Wondergore, where there are these, half human, half animal kind of breeds, because he's trying to create the perfect being.
Mhm.
And so he ends up, man, it gets so convoluted.
Wait, does he make Bova the cow?
Yes, he makes
Oh,
Bova the
wow.
cow. And but the other thing is that originally Wanda and Pietro are Magneto's kids, but then you find out that they're actually from Mount Wondergore, and that the High Evolutionary had something to do with it. And so there's a whole confusion there on top of that. So the High Evolutionary, I think, is going to be very adapted from comics to movies. Like, this character is going to look and sound, or probably, yeah, look and sound like the High Evolutionary, but the backstory and the relationship of this character is going to be much, much different in the movie. And it looks like we have a guest in the chat saying "Heidi ho," or "Howdy ho." It's Alex saying that they have arrived. Thank you so much for arriving.
Thanks,
Um,
Alex. Alex,
yeah,
if you're
thank
secretly the high evolutionary, please don't dissect me.
Yeah. Well, I think, okay. So going back to my point here, so I think the high evolutionary, I think has gonna have an interesting relationship here with, um, in the MCU, is gonna have a relationship with Rocket, obviously.
Right.
Uh, that's a big one. Also, I think the other big thing is maybe Gamora, because Thanos could have done it himself, but it seems like someone else would have to assist him with it. So maybe Gamora. Um, but yeah, definitely Rocket's one of them. And then I think there's going to be a lot of talk about, Peter's DNA heritage, and also I think that the High Evolutionary is going to play with the Sovereign, in the sense of creating Adam Warlock the perfect being, because that's what Adam Warlock's referred to in
Yes.
that's what Adam Warlock's referred to in the comics, is he's like the Sovereign's perfect being. So that may also play a really, and I think those are kind of the ties that are going to make the High Evolutionary the antagonist of that movie.
That's a great point. I keep forgetting Adam Warlock is going to be in this movie, and I
Oh,
shouldn't,
I can't
especially
wait.
because I just spent like 10 episodes with The Crown, where the girl who played Aisha plays Princess Diana. So you'd think it would be in my brain.
Mhm.
Evolutionary making Rocket though makes 1,000,000,000% sense. Totally,
Oh
that
yeah.
is totally it fits. It couldn't have fit more perfectly. But until we get there, we gotta deal with the fact that Christmas has come to space. Nobody knows what it is, but
Yeah.
Drax and Mantis know one thing. Peter's never happier than when he's talking about Kevin Bacon.
Yes, and Kevin Bacon is majority, like, he dominates most of this movie in terms of the story. Like, he's once he's introduced, he's pretty much in it for the rest of the ride. And like, yeah, just completely dominates the whole thing. I do got to point out something that Alex is saying, though. Rocket will probably freeze in terror when he confronts the High Evolutionary. This is the man that torturously experimented on him, after all. Well, that's what I'm talking about, because there are beats in the first movie, especially, where he talks about how he was essentially, made over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, so the first movie really plants a lot of backstory seeds that I think the High Evolutionary will explain. So yes, I think Rocket will be stunned, and like, because like Rocket, I think the kind of center of his emotions in this movie, and why he's kind of pushing people away, and at the same time, like, because he's a victim. He's a victim, and he doesn't want to be a victim ever again. So he's always the kind of the controller and the oppressor, because he, again, doesn't want that to happen. And that's why he really befriends Groot, because Groot is a unique creature, and so he protects Groot from being an experiment himself. So that to me is an interesting thing. So yeah, I think Rocket will have a much bigger emotional story. But yes, going back to the story, they go get Kevin Bacon. And yeah, the Mantis and Drax having fun in there. It's kind of interesting though, because as much as it was fun to see them in Hollywood, I don't know, it just felt so detached. You know what I mean? It just that scene to me was fun, but what really picked it up for me and brought me back into the world was when they go to the club with all the money. That to me was like, okay, we're back in this Guardians thing. Let's do this. And Mantis starts drinking and then breathing out like,
Yeah, she's got such a weird physiology. I love when they play with that. I felt the same way. I felt like this is really detached. This is odd. And I mean, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. And I've been there to the Chinese theater. So I was like, I stood where Drax and Mantis stood. This is great. But for me, what brought it back to feeling Guardians was actually the home invasion when they're chasing Kevin. And just the way Mantis scurries up the walls. I'm like, wow, we've never seen her move like this before. But this makes perfect sense. That's how she would move. She's basically half bug. So I just hope that carries on. I hope we get to see more of that. But that to me reminded me like, oh yeah, I'm watching the Guardians and they're strange people.
They are strange people, and that's what's kind of the fun of them as well. But yes, that's my point. Like Mantis really shines in this movie, or in this holiday special. And it's funny too, because the guy who created Mantis didn't like the interpretation they did for Mantis in Volume 2 when she was introduced. He said that he didn't like how kind of aloof the character is. Like Mantis is a really well put together character, and she's kind of like an action hero type. Like she's a really good fighter. She's very intuitive because of her abilities. But yeah, the comic book creator said he didn't like how aloof she was. But the same time, Isabella brought up a really good point that like this is, they don't have enough story to help get Mantis up to that speed, which this show does a good job of kind of building on to that.
Yeah, and when you think of the video game, that's a third different kind of Mantis, because in that video game you had a Mantis who was much more capable and competent and way more powerful. Like her powers were amplified to the extreme. But she was also kind of ditzy and just, she was always somewhere else. She's like, oh, wait, have we done this before? I can't remember, but I think you guys died here, right? Like, so it's a totally different interpretation of Mantis, which I thought was a cool. I remember it standing out to me because literally everybody else in that game was beat for beat the way they are in the movies. So I'm curious is it Jim Starlin who invented Mantis? I'm curious if he found
I think
that
it's Jim Starlin. Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, I wonder what he thinks.
So I kind of like the video game interpretation better, because she sees like multiple outcomes, and it's all based on like the one little thing that they do there that changes the outcome.
Right.
I love the scene where she has control of Drax, and you're literally, she's just like piggybacking and holding on to him the whole time, which is fun. But going back to the show, which was really fun, or the holiday special, was I liked how she was fighting the cops, and she would like block, touch, sleep, right? Like, just like doing this cool like sleep foo kind of thing, which is really fun. I really love that.
Foo. I love it.
But no, like that, I would have loved to have seen that in the movies. Like, where was that? Like, that was so cool.
Well, here's hoping Guardians 3 is like 4 hours long, and we get plenty of Mantis doing that. Alex is asking now, do you think Nebula will ever become a pirate like in the comics? Well, I think given all the time she's spending around the Reavers and the Guardians, she's pretty much a pirate now. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, I honestly at this point, I think I don't think you'll get like here's the thing, like Alex, you bring up a good point, but like you're not going to get the exact replica of Nebula from the comics, but they're pretty close. Like they're not too far off. I think you're as close as you're ever going to get. She's essentially a space pirate, like at this point, and yeah, like hanging out with the Reavers is like you might as well just call her a pirate at this point.
Unless we get a movie where she teams up with Corsair and the Starjammers, and then also Nightcrawler is there, and it's Excalibur. And
But that's such a man. That's just pure fan speculating at that point. Like I don't even know how you're going to even start hooking that story. You can't just because there's two teams in space doesn't mean they're going to run into each other.
Yeah, it does. I read it on 4chan.
Well, no, actually, it's funny you say that because I remember we've talked about this before, but I remember when Infinity War is coming out and everyone was wondering if the Guardians were gonna. This was before any trailers, but the Guardians were gonna run into the Avengers, and and the funny thing is like Chris Pratt was right, man. He's like, yo, I hope they don't meet because like just because they're both in space doesn't mean they're just gonna run into each other. Which is exactly what happens, but
yeah, no, I mean, space is a big place. And I mean, we had that conversation
they're going to run into Nova before they get anywhere close to the Starjammers at this point.
Oh, I'm surprised they have, like, Nova Prime is still, I think, their friend. Like, she respects them. So I'm shocked they haven't had any dealings with the Nova Corps since then.
Yeah, where's Richard Rider, man? Give us Richard Rider.
Give us Dick Rider, damn it. So Kevin Bacon debuts, introducing Kevin, as the credits put it, and I think they played his version of himself pretty well because he comes across like every character from a cheesy holiday special where he's against what's happening. He's like, oh wait, what's going on? I don't want anything to do with this. And then he witnesses something Christmassy happening and has the about face, and it's cheesy but it's beautiful, where he's like, hold on, somebody's forgotten the meaning of Christmas and I've got to help. Right? It's so, I don't want to say derivative because it sounds like I'm insulting this, but it is the Christmas special formula. It's the recipe, it's the gingerbread in our cookies, and it's why we like this kind of stuff. So I'm glad that it was Kevin who fills that role. And I thought he played off of Mantis and Drax pretty well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. To quickly answer your question there, Alex, yes, Peter's grandfather is very long dead at this point.
Oh, yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah, no, we're never... Yeah, I think in terms of Peter's backstory, we've been given everything we need. The MCU doesn't have enough time to really deep dive back into that character. And no, I don't think they will, I personally, because I think for Peter at this point, the whole point I think the holiday special does one thing that really kind of completes Star-Lord as a journey, which is smart because really, if you think about it, the whole point of the first movie was he wanted to be recognizable. He wanted the notoriety that he is Star-Lord, the legendary outlaw, right?
Yeah.
And as you go through the first movie into the second, you kind of, even into like Infinity War and Endgame, you kind of get a sense that, he becomes the legendary outlaw. He has the dance off to save the universe. He has, in the second one, he fights a planet, like, that galaxy. And then even, oh my God, even in Infinity War and that, like, they've saved the universe, right? So, like, he's already kind of completed the journey of being this legendary outlaw and still inspiring people. And I think that kind of closes his story off well. I think what's next is like, what happens to the Guardians from here, right? And I think that's kind of the beauty of it, is that we're kind of wrapping up everyone's story. And I think what's going to happen is like he needs to patch things up with Rocket in terms of like, helping Rocket kind of find inner peace kind of thing. And then, they'll just be, and I think what's going to happen is kind of like Star-Lord is like the sheriff of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, he's this
Yeah.
legendary outlaw, and people, and I think, I wouldn't be surprised if Guardians Volume 3 ends with like someone coming up in nowhere and he's like, the classic sheriff being like, "Hey, this is my town, buddy. You know who I am?" And it's like, "Oh, you're Star-Lord, right?" And have that moment, like, because essentially that's this one. They all said it. They all said it. They said it to Kevin Bacon. Like, he is a legendary person. Like, he's this amazing person. And
Right.
so Star-Lord's, if we were to go to, Sujith, you're going to be thanking me for this one. If we go to the classic, the goal of a character, or like the full arc of a character, if the character has a hero has an action to complete a life or death goal, I would argue that his goal is to be a hero, what it means to be a true hero, a legendary
Yes.
outlaw. And this show, I think this very episode is the holiday special in itself. Wow, this is such an epiphany. The holiday special is in itself is his complete journey. Is literally him getting exactly what he wanted.
That's right. You're absolutely right. He does, even to the point where like his hero comes and meets him, and he gets that sort of sense of closure. His first taste of something he loved from Earth, especially because his Walkman's been gone forever.
Yep.
If Sujith is listening to this, and I know he is, I'm still pulling for him to play Apocalypse in the MCU. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Your least favorite Marvel character.
He can. If anybody
and you want him to play it.
If anybody can make Apocalypse if anybody can make Apocalypse work, it's that man. He can do it. He can bring Apocalypse to life. That's why Volume 3 is going to be the Rocket story, because his is the one that still has not been resolved. How Gamora ends up getting back into it, the fun is going to be in finding out. But I love that this little silly adventure of getting Kevin Bacon to come remind Peter about the meaning of Christmas is not the story that we watched, the plot is about them trying to get Kevin to nowhere so that he can talk to Peter, but the actual story they're telling is closing this arc for Peter, which is, for the first time basically since his mom died, he has family again, real family. Because Ego, sure, blood, whatever, but Ego didn't have his best interests. And Yondu did have his best interests, but he's a different kind of family. He's the family that you choose rather than the family you have. And then Mantis comes along, and she's both. She's someone he chose to be with him as part of his crew, but she's also legitimately family now. And that revelation, and knowing that revelation was coming, that was so cool to think, okay, how's he going to react? And it's beautiful. It's like, oh my God, I have a sister. Like, that's exactly what he needed to hear right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, so because again, the first movie is really like, now that you see the Guardians journey overall, the first movie is such a like a roadmap to all the characters. Like, Gamora was trying to run away from everything, and through the Guardians, she is able to make a difference, and finally do good and be good, right? And the other thing is and bring balance, because that's what she learns in Infinity War as a kid, right? To bring everything needs balance, right? And Rocket, people have done wrong to him, and he feels like he needs to do wrong to others, right? And be the oppressor. And then he learns through them to care, like through Groot right at the end, to care for others, but he still kind of struggles with it because he's not willing to fully, put himself out there. And volume 2 was his struggle with that, his struggle with trying to, and that scene with Yondu is a really touching scene. Actually, I really find that.
He found a great kindred spirit with Yondu.
Yeah, and then he loses Yondu. He loses the one person that truly understood who he was.
Yes.
And then you have it's just really just a good old roadmap. Like, I would say what's going to be interesting with Gamora's story in volume 3 is Gamora leaves us in kind of in Endgame. She's like, this is the guy, and she's like, well, it's either that or the tree. And what's interesting about that line is through Star-Lord's life goal, which is to be the legendary outlaw, she's gonna relearn why he's so important to her. And I think she will eventually come back. And I don't think there'll be a big scene of like them finally being romantically together or anything, but I think like the last possible scene will be her coming back and just literally giving him that look like, I know who you are. And that's like, right. And like Warlock, I'm kind of curious as to how his story is going to build out, but I'm very excited for it. I think that's where the real magic is going to take place for me. But yeah, like going back, Alex, to what you're saying in terms of his family, like relatives and stuff, I think his Earth family, they're like, he was what, like 8, between 4 and 8 when like he was picked up.
Yeah, he was. I think he was somewhere between 8 and 10. So and you get the sense in that family that, and this could just be me reading into it, but I got the sense that he didn't really care for anybody except his mom in that room.
Yeah,
because he didn't rush and hug anybody. It was just like, mom's gone, I ran out. So yeah, I don't think we're seeing them again. Now Groot. Let's talk about Groot. Because
the super jacked, the super buffed Groot. Yeah.
Groot is looking more and more like Vin Diesel every day. To the point where, Ryan, I'm pretty sure in volume 3, it's just going to be Vin Diesel on screen, and they don't even need to use CGI. He's just going to be running around with the Groot.
I'm pretty sure that was a suit. Like that, I don't think they did that much CGI for Groot in this one.
Wow. So you're saying I am suit?
I actually am saying I am suit because just like the weird build, like he was really bulky for being Groot.
He was big.
And like even in Endgame and even in Infinity War, like he was really scrawny, like he was really skinny. Even Love and Thunder, I'd have to go back to Love and Thunder, but even Love and Thunder, he was still pretty lanky.
I think he was still skinny teen Groot in Love and Thunder, yeah. So between then and when they bought Nowhere, he has been lifting things. Wow. So I don't know what's going on there, but I just found it funny. The new design of Groot was very strange, and it took some getting used to. But he has a Game Boy now.
That's true, but to be fair though, in the comics, Groot does he gets destroyed a lot, like he gets blown to bits, and then like one little twig survives, then it turns into a new Groot. But during those times, there are times where he's kind of changed shape when he regenerates. So it kind of makes sense. But yeah, it just. I don't know if it's like a budget thing or what it was, but like I just felt like that was a Groot suit as opposed to a CG.
Groot suit riot.
Groot suit riot. Yeah.
That should have been in the soundtrack for the holiday special.
Yeah. Yeah. So they bring Kevin Bacon back, and again, speaking to the humor of this show, the humor was so on point. There's a lot of fun. Subverting expectations, which is kind of like the key to comedy, where like he's presented with the Kevin Bacon moment, and what's funny about it is like I was half expecting him to do the Footloose routine to kind of really just like awaken this like childhood joy. And that is not what happened at all. And I love that it turns into you abducted him, like you kidnapped him, that kind of thing. So that was really funny.
Yeah, you're right. I wasn't even considering the Footloose thing, but that is something that would have been on everybody's mind. And the fact that they didn't do that shows some restraint. In terms of the comedy here, I mean, the Guardians movies are giant, massive adventures, huge budget, huge scale. And obviously, when you're taking that world and those characters and putting them in a 40-minute Christmas special, things are going to get sacrificed. But thankfully, the comedy was not sacrificed at all. They are still they're on top of their game. In fact, to the point where I was like wheezing, laughing when everything is fine and Kevin leaves and Nebula just smiles and says, "I guess not all actors are giant pieces of shit." It's like, just the way she's delivered, like it's just they did not miss a beat with the comedy, which means we're in good hands. Even though Pulling 3 is supposed to be way darker and more serious. Then I know you don't like the word darker, and I'm just paraphrasing. That's not what they said, but it is going to be a much sadder and more emotional ride than the other ones have. But it's nice to know that they haven't lost their touch, and we're still getting these really funny characters because that's how we fell in love with them in the first place.
Yeah, I think Guardians will still have. I agree with you that maybe the overarching story will be dark and sad, but you'll still have like a lot of gem moments. I agree with you, Nebula. Even the scene with Mantis and Drax in the ship, and they figure out he's an actor. I thought that was so funny. That was another laugh out loud moment. But the humor is very well done in this. The humor is all about subverting expectations. It's just they're setting you up one way and they hit you with another just as quickly. And it's just kind of always keeping you on your feet that way. But yeah, that last song, just did not do anything for me. And it kind of felt too Disney-y. You know what I mean? Like it just
maybe some of the Disney people wrote it. I don't know, because I mean, we know James Gunn is a talented guy, but is he a songwriter? I don't know. I'm assuming that in the beginning, that band wrote that song. Because they're a band. As for the Kevin Bacon song, who knows? So maybe you're right. Maybe it is Disney who cobbled that together. I like what Alex is saying here. He says, I love a Spider-Man Halloween TV special where they adapt the Six-Arm Saga and he becomes Man Spider.
I would if Punisher hunted him down, I would be all over it.
And you can't have Spider-Man Halloween without the Hobgoblin. I'm just saying. So anything that gets us closer to having the Hobgoblin on the big screen or on the small screen, whatever, just in live action, I am there. In fact, Ryan, if you could make one MCU holiday special, what would you make? It's a fun thought experiment.
Oh my god.
It can be Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day, Easter, summer, Thanksgiving. You got your pick of the litter.
I would do a Valentine's Day one. Mm-hmm. And I would have, but like that's the thing, like certain characters and stories would have to be set up in order for it to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would do that and like have either Enchantress or like even if you do like X-Men, for example, have like Rogue mess with Gambit, and then like Gambit thinks it's serious this time, and he gets knocked out, and then something bad's really coming, like that kind of stuff. But like I don't know, holiday specials are tricky for me. Like if I were to ever do one, it would feel like the Star Wars holiday special in terms of just like how awkward and non-cohesive it is. And all the actors would be drunk on the scene.
I like the idea of a Valentine's special though. That's cool. That's something that we don't have yet. So it's always nice to throw one of those in. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot of choices. I feel like what I would go with something like, I don't know if there's a Marvel villain who's either, if their powers revolve either around fire or ice. Is there a Marvel villain like that who's either all about like making lots of fire or making lots of cold, like Mr. Freeze?
Oh yeah, I'm sure there is. I'm trying to think of who. Trying to think of who now, because I'm thinking ice. I think Iceman. I think fire. I think Firestar. Or Human
Pyro,
Torch.
maybe Pyro.
Pyro, yeah, Pyro's a good one. But one that does both, it's not coming to me right now.
So I think what I would do. Okay, never mind that villain thing then. No, yeah, never mind that villain. This is exactly what I would do. I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. This is dumb of me. All right, because honestly, I've said this a million times. I could watch that party scene in Age of Ultron just like over and over again.
Oh yeah, that is so good.
So it's an hour-long special where it's just the Avengers having a Christmas party in New York. But Big Willie Fisk is up to no good, and he's ruining Christmas somehow because he's the Grinch. And the Avengers gotta help not have Christmas be ruined by, I don't know, giving toys to people or beating up thugs that he sends or something. Maybe he's got guys out dressed as Santa Claus and they're like stealing or something. I don't know. Maybe they're driving an armored car around, and the Avengers are just trying to have their party, and Big Willie is stepping on their toes.
Yeah.
Right? You know,
well, I mean, like,
seeing Yelena kick
like,
back with some eggnog.
To be fair, like Hawkeye is a holiday special. Like,
yes, it is.
It absolutely it is. Like, you know, that kind of thing for sure.
Yeah, so that could, I mean, that could count. That could count.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's what I would do. So that you have the whole Avengers having a Christmas party, dancing and drinking eggnog. It's all cozy. Maybe everybody's got a sweater, like a Christmas sweater. But so when they have to go do their superheroing, they're putting their superhero costumes on, but it's chilly out. So they put their sweaters on over their costumes. And their sweaters are all kind of themed, right? Like I don't know, Falcon's got a sweater with like birds on it and stuff. So it all fits. And then like you could make toys of those. Big Willie's got like a big white fur coat. Just all right, it's happening. I'm writing this.
See, if you're gonna do that, this is how I would do. I love what you're saying. I would just adapt it slightly, where I would make it themed after Die Hard, and they're trying to get out. They're trying to finish this mission in time to get to their Avengers Christmas party, but they little do they know they're infiltrating Fisk Tower, and then it all closes down. They have to get out, and it's all like Die Hard style. It's just so that would be, there you go. That's the holiday special I would watch.
That's it. It's 2 hours long. The first half is the Die Hard. The second half is just the party.
Yeah. There, that's it, right? And then like one of the Avengers, one of the least favorite Avengers is like at the party waiting for everybody to arrive, but they're all stuck in the Fisk Tower. And they're calling him, being like, "Oh yeah, we'll get out, we'll get there."
Like they would probably, I was just gonna say, they would do that to Ant-Man. They'd snub him and be like, "Hey, you guys, you told me the right address, right?" Just standing there waiting.
It's me, Ant-Man. You know Ant-Man. Yeah. Alex is saying, would love six-arm saga. It becomes Spider-Man. Plus, it's a way for them to re-emphasize his powers while downplaying the gadgets. And that said, I would love them to introduce Spider Tracers, homemade, of course. Homecoming had Spider Tracers.
Yeah, they looked like the cartoon too.
Yeah,
the little spider feet. That holiday idea, man. This is great. We're making it happen. So, Ryan, any final thoughts on the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special before we give it a stone rating?
I like that it exists. And I thought the story was extremely funny. The music really hurt my experience overall. Like it was just like, it kind of made it too cheesy. Like it just kind of, there is a line and they kind of crossed it with the music. But I think overall there's some fun little things in there that's really interesting. Reintroducing Cosmo, giving Cosmo a voice, which was really huge.
Yeah.
And yeah, Alex, yeah, go back to Homecoming, man. The whole reason he goes to Washington is because he uses his spider tracer to follow the goons back to the hideout. You don't see the spider tracer too long though, because he shoots it hanging under the construction table, and he shoots it at the guy's shoe, and it crawls up his shoe.
Right when Shocker walks into the shop
Yeah.
class there. Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, overall, I think it was great. I think what I love about Marvel is that they are doing these kind of special events because they are really fascinating. I like that they're a very isolated, focused story that can be used as a tool to get people caught up. Like there's clever ways you can use them to do cool things with. But overall, yeah, it was kind of a bit too corny with the music, but I had a lot of fun with the story, and the comedy was really good.
Yeah. Neither of these specials have felt like a waste. Yes, they are isolated. Yes, they are small. Yes, they are, in the grand scheme of things, pretty. At least this one, was really low stakes. Werewolf by Night, you could argue there were much higher stakes there, but they are still furthering the story.
Yes.
And I think that is what I like most about them, and that's what I want them to keep sticking to if they keep doing more of these. Is every Marvel movie and show is another step on the journey that is whatever this grand story is being told, and that's great. But if you make something that's just a detour that is a sidestep, then it's like, you could have done that in a way where it wasn't a sidestep, and thankfully both of these move forward. And I like that about them. I think in terms of the stone rating, from 0 stones to an Infinity Gauntlet, or even 2 Infinity Gauntlets, because now that's a thing. Ryan went there. I have decided to give it 4.5 stones. Because
I'd give it. Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I feel like there's nothing inherently bad about the holiday special. It does exactly what it sets out to do, which is tell a fun little side story with the Guardians, and give us laughs and give us big emotional payoff, which is what every Guardians movie has done so far. The music does make it suffer a bit. The low stakes makes it suffer a bit. The short length makes it suffer a bit, but it's nothing that would ever deter me from recommending it to anybody. So I think 4.5, nice little place for it to live.
Yes, I would give it probably just 4. I wouldn't give it a 4.5. I would probably just give it 4.
Oh, you monster!
No, I think 4 is just a well-rounded number. It didn't hurt anything overall. Like, it didn't hurt it. It didn't. It was good. It was fun. It was cheesy. But yeah, overall, like that's all I can really say. It was good. It was fun. Didn't really hurt anything, and it was fun to try something different. That's what I think is really the big takeaway of this. It's fun to try something different, and I think these special presentations can have a big effect later on, once they kind of get it. Because like you look at Werewolf by Night, imagine thousands of those, like thousands of like little shows like that like add a little extra something to it. Like for example, like if you look at, let me get it here.
What do we got? What's going on? Oh, are those the cards?
If you look at all these characters,
people who are just listening to the audio, I'm so sorry, you're missing out on some sexy trading cards.
Yeah. So if you look at all these cards, there are so many characters that are so popular from the 90s and even like later on that don't have a story. Like for example, you could do a special presentation on a Darkhawk. Like this guy is a pretty crazy character if you actually read him in the comics. So there's so much you can do. Heck, you could probably do a special presentation on Hercules and then see where that goes, right? So that is something I would like to see. So I think, again, there's nothing wrong with this one. I mean, I just thought the music was a little too corny.
Guys, what Ryan is really saying is he hates Christmas and he hates all of you. That's the subtext here.
Yeah.
No, I think, and it's funny because we've gotten 2 of these. You'd think there'd be a baseline by now, but I feel like I need a couple more of these specials under my belt, because right now we have one special that introduces all new characters and all new concepts, and another special that deals with characters we already know. And I feel like if we get a few more, we can gauge which of the two is better suited for this medium. You know what I mean? Is it better to use the specials to set up new stuff? Or is it better to just use them for fun adventures with people we already know that also moves their stories forward?
Yeah, exactly, right?
So I want to know which of them this medium is cut out for. And we need a few more before we can really put a button on that, which is why if you want to get going on that Die Hard idea that Ryan and I had, you know who to call. And the answer is the writers. You don't bother calling us because we already gift wrapped it for you. There you go. Call Vincent D'Onofrio is who you have to call. It's the right answer.
There you go.
Well, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is behind us, which means, Ryan, Phase 4 is finally behind us. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I said finally. That's not what I meant. But Phase 4 is behind us, which means we're this much closer to the Morbius spinoff that we all knew was happening. Morbius 2, it's Morbin time, starring Tom Holland.
I'm just going to say... First of all, I do want to say, though, that Phase 4 was a bit of an experimental phase. They tried radically new things. Mm-hmm. Some were really great, some were not so much. But overall, yeah, we're past Phase 4, man. We did it. We're now on to we're going to be on to some pretty crazy stuff. I think Phase 4 was a good way to just test the waters a little bit by trying to really do some radical things. And now we got some really crazy stories coming up that I cannot wait. We got Ant-Man coming up in February, which is gonna be
nice. Yes, sir. Did you see the MODOK toy?
I did see the MODOK. They did improve his design a little bit, but overall, people are still pretty upset.
I'll reserve because Funkos, you can't really gauge anything from a Funko. They're chibi paperweights, for God's sake. It's so hard to do. So I'm reserving my judgment for when I see the movie. But yeah, we got Phase 4 to look forward to. There's a lot of stuff. Phase 5 to look forward to. But something you all listening can look forward to is we here at Infinity Rewatch have our own holiday special coming up within the next couple weeks. I don't know an exact date of when it's going to drop, but we are as shocked as you are. Oh my God, this is our shock face. We're doing our top 5 moments from Phase 4. But when I say top 5, I actually mean 10 things, because Ryan will have his top 5 and I will have my top 5. So you're getting 10 things for the price of one, and the price of one is free because we don't charge you anything for these episodes. You're welcome. I'm excited. I finally finished my top 5 list actually today, Ryan, because I was thinking because now that I have seen Guardians Holiday Special and all of Phase 4 is behind me, I can kind of think back and be like, okay, what was my full top 5? And I've got it. I'm pretty confident that I've nailed it down. How far along are you? Have you gotten yours?
I have 3 out of 5 right now.
You have 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
All right. I'm excited.
Actually, no. It's definitely 4 out of 5. I just remembered one I really wanted to talk about. So
I wonder if we'll have any crossovers. I think we're gonna have one crossover.
Is that your bet?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 1.
I think we may have 2. I think we may have 2 at least.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
But there are some big moments for me, and it's surprisingly enough, like if you look at Phase 4, there are some, like when you think of moments, there are some big moments.
There really are. And I mean, we had a really eclectic mix of movies. No 2 movies felt the same. So it's going to be interesting. And then, of course, the shows. So it's going to be interesting seeing where our favorite moments ended up falling. I think I had, this is a spoiler. I'm not going to say this, but I was about to say whether more of them were from shows or from movies. No,
that might give it away too much.
Yeah, there was a healthy mix. Let's say that there was a healthy mix. So look forward to that. That should be coming up in the coming weeks. And then, of course, on New Year's Day, I believe we will do our 2nd annual Ranking Marvel, which means we rank every movie in one list and every show and special in another. Spoilers. Eternals is number 4.
On your list, maybe.
We'll see. We'll see.
It's his favorite movie.
Actually, number 1, I just put Attack of the Clones for everything. So that's my favorite Marvel movie. Anyway, Ryan and Alex and everybody else listening and watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Ryan, where can the people find you when you're not kicking butt on Marvel Snap?
As of right now, I'm really pushing hard on making wonderful YouTube videos for my work channel. So that's probably where you're going to find me the most. I do appreciate if you do leave a comment and click on like and subscribe. That would be great. And even make sure you do the same for this channel, Digital Charcuterie, giving the love and making sure to click on that like and subscribe there. But yeah, so you can find me on youtube.com/expertzone. We're making a ton of videos on that platform. So just make sure you give a like and subscribe. And then on top of that, you can also find me on Instagram at Ryan J. Whitehead and Twitter. I'm not sure I'm going to be using that anymore. We'll see. So for now, just if you find me on Instagram, but you can also find me on that Expert Zone YouTube channel.
And you can find me also maybe on Twitter, but not entirely sure, and on Instagram at Andrew Fantasia. And then you can find me right here in my own home, trying desperately to figure out if there's going to be a Marvel United Core Box 3, because we really need a 3rd season, because there's so many characters they haven't given us in that game, and I want more. I just want more, Ryan. I don't want to be greedy.
So good. I need
everything.
I need another board game night, man. That's what I need.
Yes, that needs to happen. But until that happens, I hope you and everyone else has a happy Thanksgiving and a marvelous day.